I thought I was making the smartest decision of my career. No vacation, no time off, no breaks, just one signature and a promise. A big one. Trade your unused vacation days, they said, and we'll pay you out in cash at the end of the quarter. It sounded simple, safe, almost guaranteed. And I wasn't the only one who bought in. Half the office did. Some people gave up a week, others months. One guy in accounting, he hadn't taken a day off in 2 years. He signed immediately because the company wasn't just doing okay. It was booming. New clients, bigger contracts, executives smiling more than usual. Something big was coming, and we all wanted a piece of it. So we made the trade. Rest for reward, time for money. And at first, it felt worth it. No one complained. No one questioned it. We were grinding harder than ever, telling ourselves, this is temporary. This is smart. This is how you get ahead. But then, something shifted. It was small at first. Subtle. The kind of thing you almost ignore. Meetings started getting canceled. Emails went unanswered. Then one morning, I walked in and noticed something strange. The executive parking spots? Empty. Every single one. No announcement. No explanation. Just gone. That's when the first real thought hit me. What did we just sign away? And more importantly, what happens if they can't pay us back? Because what we didn't know yet was that the company we trusted was already collapsing from the inside. At first, nobody said it out loud, but you could feel it. That quiet tension in the air, like something was off, but no one wanted to be the first to admit it. We kept working. We kept logging in, hitting deadlines, answering emails like everything was normal. Because what else were we supposed to do? Panic? Walk out? No. We doubled down. Because if the company was still standing, the money had to be coming, right? That's what we told ourselves. Until the little cracks started turning into something bigger. Payroll came late. Not missed, just delayed. Technical issue, HR said. Bank processing error. They sounded calm. Rehearsed. Too rehearsed. Then vendors started calling. Not emailing, calling. Asking about unpaid invoices. Asking if we were still operational. That word stuck with me. Operational. Like we were already a question mark. Inside the office, things got weirder. Managers stopped making eye contact. Slack channels went quiet. People who used to joke around suddenly kept their heads down. And the executives? Still nowhere to be seen. That's when rumors started spreading. Quiet whispers at first. They're restructuring. They're securing new funding. It's temporary. But then someone from finance said something that didn't match any of that. He looked nervous, like he'd seen something he wasn't supposed to. And he said, almost under his breath, they're not waiting on money. He paused. They're out of it. That was the moment everything changed. Because if the company was out of money, then what about ours? The vacation days we gave up. The payout we were promised. Was it even real anymore? And just when we thought it couldn't get worse, an email hit everyone's inbox the next morning. Subject line: mandatory all-hands meeting. The email landed at 8:12 a.m. No greeting. No context. Just a time and a link. Mandatory all-hands. 9 a.m. That was it. And suddenly, nobody was pretending anymore. You could hear it in the office, the silence. No keyboards. No chatter. Just people staring at their screens like they already knew. Because we did. We just didn't want to say it. At 8:59, the call filled up fast. Cameras off. Mics muted. Dozens, then hundreds of us, waiting. Watching that little connecting icon spin like it had all the answers. And then, someone joined. Not our CEO. Not our leadership team. A lawyer. You could feel the shift instantly. No energy. No confidence. Just formality. He adjusted his glasses, cleared his throat, and said, as of this morning, the company has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. No build-up. No warning. Just like that. Gone. But what hit harder wasn't the bankruptcy. It was what came next. Effective immediately, all employee compensation is frozen pending court proceedings. Frozen. That word echoed. Because it didn't just mean salaries. It meant bonuses. Reimbursements. And yes, those vacation payouts we traded everything for. Someone unmuted. Wait. So what happens to the days we gave up? Silence. The lawyer hesitated. Then said something that felt like a punch to the chest. Those would now be considered unsecured claims. Unsecured. Meaning, not guaranteed. Meaning, we were last in line. And suddenly, it all clicked. We didn't just lose money. We lost time. Weeks. Months. Years of rest gone. Traded for a promise that didn't exist anymore. But the worst part? The call wasn't over yet. Because what they said next made it clear this wasn't just a collapse. It was something much deeper and much worse. The call should have ended there. Bankruptcy, frozen pay, unsecured claims. That alone was enough to break people. But the lawyer didn't log off. He took a breath, like he knew what he was about to say would hit even harder. Additionally, he continued, certain executive members resigned prior to this filing. Prior to. Let that sink in. They didn't go down with the company. They left before it collapsed. Before the announcement. Before we knew anything. And suddenly, those empty parking spots made sense. They didn't disappear overnight. They planned it. Someone unmuted again, this time louder. You're saying they knew? They knew this was happening. The lawyer didn't answer directly. He didn't have to. Because the silence said everything. They knew. And while we were signing away our vacation days, working longer hours, trusting the system, they were already walking out the door. But it gets worse. Because one of the HR reps, who clearly wasn't supposed to speak, jumped in. Her voice was shaky, almost like she regretted it immediately. There were internal discussions, weeks ago, she said, about cash flow issues. Weeks. That's when it hit me. The timing. The offer to exchange vacation days for a payout. That didn't come months ago. It came weeks ago, right when they already knew money was tight. Which means that opportunity we all jumped on. It wasn't a reward. It was a move. A last-ditch effort to hold on to cash, using our time as collateral. And we fell for it. Every single one of us. But just when the anger started to build, someone in the chat dropped a message that changed everything. It was short, almost easy to miss. But once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. Check the executive bonuses filed last quarter. At first, it sounded like a rumor. One message in a flood of panic. Check the executive bonuses filed last quarter. Easy to ignore if you wanted to. But someone didn't. Within minutes, links started flying. Screenshots, documents, public filings. And then, confirmation. The numbers were real. While we were being encouraged to delay gratification. While we were giving up our time, our rest, our sanity. The executives had already paid themselves. Massive bonuses. 6 figures. Some even more. Approved, processed, completed. Weeks before the bankruptcy filing. Weeks before we signed those agreements. Let that sink in. They didn't just know the company was in trouble. They secured their money first. Then came to us with a deal. And suddenly, everything rewrote itself. That motivational speech from leadership? The one about shared sacrifice. Not real. That email about investing in the company's future? Not real. It wasn't sacrifice. It was extraction. From us to them. The chat exploded. People were furious. Are you serious right now? This has to be illegal. They used us. But buried in all that noise, one message stood out. It came from someone in finance. Someone who had been quiet the entire time. Until now. All of this, they wrote, was approved by the board. And just like that, this wasn't just a few greedy executives anymore. This went higher. Much higher. Because if the board signed off on it, then this wasn't a mistake. It was a strategy. And the scariest part? We still didn't know the full picture. Because there was one more document. One that hadn't been shared yet. One that explained why they rushed everything. And what they were trying to hide before it all collapsed. The document showed up quietly. No announcement. No explanation. Just a PDF, dropped into the chat. No title. Just a file name. Final_review_V3. At first, people hesitated. After everything we'd already seen, no one was ready for more. But curiosity wins. It always does. Someone opened it. Then another. And within seconds, the reactions started flooding in. Wait, what is this? This can't be right. Oh my God. I opened it too. And the first thing I saw? A timeline. Detailed. Structured. Planned. Not chaos. Not a sudden collapse. A plan. Dates. Decisions. Internal notes. And right there, highlighted. Liquidity risk critical. Dated, over a month before they offered us the vacation payout deal. A full month. Which means when they told us to cash in later, they already knew there might not be a later. But that wasn't even the worst part. Scroll down, and it gets darker. There was a section labeled Cost Reduction Measures. Sounds normal, right? Until you read the bullets. Delay vendor payments. Freeze hiring. Reduce operational spend. And then, encourage voluntary deferral of employee benefits. Voluntary deferral. That was us. That was the vacation trade, written like a strategy, not a perk, not an option, a tactic. And suddenly, it all connects. The smiles, the promises, the urgency. It wasn't about rewarding employees. It was about buying time, using us to stay afloat just a little longer. But here's the part that made my stomach drop. At the very bottom of the document, there was a note. Short, cold, calculated. If unsuccessful, proceed with filing immediately after Q3 distributions. Q3 distributions. That's when the executive bonuses went out. That's when they got paid. And right after that, they pulled the plug. But there was still one question nobody could answer. If they planned all of this, then why leave a trail? Why risk anyone finding this document at all? Unless it wasn't meant to stay hidden forever. At that point, it stopped feeling like a collapse and started feeling like exposure. Because think about it. Documents like that don't just leak. Not by accident. Not with that level of detail. That timeline, those notes, that final line, someone wanted it seen. But who? And why now? The chat went from anger to something sharper. Suspicion. Because if someone inside the company dropped that file, they either made a mistake, or they were sending a message. And then it hit me. The timestamp, buried in the file details. Uploaded after the bankruptcy call started. Not before. Which means whoever shared it was still inside. Watching. Listening. Deciding that this was the moment. And that changes everything. Because now, it's not just about what the executives did. It's about who's willing to expose it. Who's willing to risk their career, maybe more, to make sure the truth doesn't disappear with the company. The call ended shortly after. No apologies. No real answers. Just instructions. Direct all questions to legal. But nobody cared about that anymore. Because the damage was already done. We lost the money. We lost the time. But what hurt most? We lost the illusion. The idea that loyalty, hard work, sacrifice would be recognized, protected, returned. Instead, we learned something most people don't realize until it's too late. In a system like this, you're not a partner. You're a resource. And when things go wrong, resources get used up, then replaced. But here's the part nobody's talking about. That document didn't just expose the past. It opened a door. Because if one insider was willing to leak that, what else is out there? What hasn't been seen yet? And more importantly, who's next to speak? Because this story, it doesn't end with a bankruptcy. It starts there.